For nearly a decade, Camille Hunt has been co-running Hunt Kastner, a private Prague gallery that represents leading local artists such as Koťátková and Dominik. In 2013, the gallery moved to Žižkov from the Letná district, which the Canadian-born Hunt has long called home. Our tour of her Prague begins with a drink on the terrace of the Letná Chateau, which is adjacent to a beer garden with stunning views of the city.
I have lived in Letná for 15 plus years. I love this part of the city because of the parks, I suppose, mainly. And it's a very quick, nice walk into town through the park, so it's lovely. You don't have to cross any horrible highways, and it's nice being high up.
How would you characterize the neighborhood?
I wouldn't say it's any different. Well, maybe there's less... It's perhaps a little bit less expat-y than maybe Vinohrady, which is the sort of the area that people seem to favor more because it has maybe more restaurants and more shops and it's also a very lovely part of town. And Davice is also very nice and maybe more foreigner friendly just because it has more access to more shops and restaurants and amenities. But so Letná is actually surprising because we always say, when are the good restaurants going to open? Because it is such a lovely part and so close to town, and so many people come here on the weekends to the park. But there are some good places, but they're few and far between still.
How would you say Letná has changed over your decade and a half living here?
Not terribly much. I mean, of course, there are better shops and restaurants, again, going back to that. But, and the park as well, maybe better maintained. The lovely part about Letná are the parks, but because we have so many trees and greenery in the park, they don't put many trees on the actual streets, which I keep on thinking they will do eventually, but so that's the difference with Vinohrady. It's got nice leafy trees everywhere, which makes the streets really beautiful.
Also, I don't know if you find this, but Prague is relatively small, but still I find myself hanging out with people who live near me. It's not London or somewhere. There's no particular reason that I wouldn't come over here to Letná to go out, but I don't do it.
Well, actually, we have this sort of running joke with our friend. We have a lot of friends who do live in Vinohrady, and it's the sort of battle between Letná and Vinohrady, and we always say that it's much better here, at least the park, at least the beer garden, than Rigor Vysady, and I stand by that. Because of the views, but it's true that I don't know. Maybe as we get older, we're less inclined to travel even short distances. I don't know. I mean, I'm always in Vinohrady and Žižkov because the gallery moved there. Now it'll be almost 2 years. I mean, the gallery was in Letná, around the corner from where I live, so I probably got out less. But I quite like that it's not close by because then I do actually have to travel to get to work, and it's a nice way of sort of clearing your head and also after work I go and do more things after work before I get home. If you live right around the corner from where you work, it's kind of hard to think of going away and then coming back. So I think I prefer this arrangement anyways for now.
And you were telling me earlier that you think Prague is starting to become more lively at the weekends than it used to be.
Yes, it definitely is, and actually we always had openings of the gallery during the week, usually on Thursday or even Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I never thought of doing it Friday because, everybody would tell us that, nobody would show up. And we also thought that, but in the last year or so, we started doing them Fridays, and there's no difference. And I think young people don't necessarily, take off on Friday immediately for the cottage because there's so much more going on in Prague nowadays.
I used to live in Vršovice, and there was a pub that closed at the weekend, which for an Irish person is just inconceivable.
Exactly. So that's just really not the case anymore. I mean, a few people said, "Oh, Friday," but it's proven to be fine. And actually, the problem was when we did it Thursday, we were competing with so many other events. That's actually the reason we thought of doing it on Friday. So
I guess Prague has become more attractive at weekends with all the farmers markets and other activities, little festivals.
Yeah, exactly. So people are staying in town. I mean, obviously they still, many people still have country cottages and they do go, but it's not every single weekend, I think.
In recent times, Letná, long one of the most desirable locales in Prague, has, if anything, become even more hip. Helping drive that resurgence has been Františka Křížka, which today boasts the kind of funky cafes and shops one might find in the cool quarter of a Western European city. A long-term resident of the area, Camille Hunt has watched the street flourish with interest.
There's quite a few interesting new places here in the last couple of years that have opened up, and the first one was Bistro Osum, and they serve quiches and good coffee, and actually they have art exhibitions also, very good ones. Quite a few of our artists show there too. They've enlisted the help of a good curator to do those for them. And then there's Page 5, a nice art bookshop, and there's a place called Sneaker Barber that sells sneakers and I think vinyl records.
My friend had a bag design shop across the street in what is now part of the Bistro Osum.
That's right. So they've expanded, yes.
I haven't been here for maybe a year. There are a couple of new places, including this Page 5. How quickly has this area become, or this street even become, hipster central?
Just in the last year and a half, two or so. Very recent, yeah.
And do you think this renaissance here is in any way linked to the fact that we're quite near the Academy of Fine Arts, or is it only a coincidence?
I think it's a coincidence. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I was always bemoaning the fact that the Art Academy is here, and for so long there was a dearth of nice cafes and nice places to go to, and now that's changing. So possibly, but I don't think... I think every area of Prague has this little thing going on where there's some nice little new shops, design shops, cafes, restaurants like Vršovice, and that's quite recent as well. So I don't think it's particular to Letná.
We're also outside here, a place that's, I guess, some kind of dry cleaners, but it looks so old school. I often wonder how these places survive. You always see a few in Prague that look like they haven't changed at all since 1992 or something.
That's true, and it almost looks like a new place that's trying to look old and hipster.
It's the ultimate hipster place.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, I guess I don't know if they have control, rent control, but could be the case.
Also, when I see this bookshop here with all these design books and art books and that kind of thing, I wonder, do people have the money for this stuff?
Well, I guess they do. We'd have to ask them. I think that's the thing, is like these shops, they don't open because they think they're going to make tons of money. It's like when we open a gallery, there are lots of other things we could do if we were planning to make a lot of money. So, this bookshop, Page 5, has beautiful books. I don't think they're flying off the shelves, but that wasn't the motivation for opening it, And that's what's nicer, is that in Prague there's more of this, people opening up shops not just make tons of money. So they do a business, but it's more about contributing to the quality of life and having some nice places to meet up with people, eating good food, reading good books.
Sometimes when I see these places, I think, maybe uncharitably, that they're kind of playing at being in Berlin.
Oh, I don't think so. If you look in this Page 5, of course, a lot of the books, they do have a lot of Czech books, but of course there's less art books being published in Czech than in English or even in German, so they do carry a lot of foreign books, but they're about art, so, that even if you don't speak English or German fluently, you might appreciate the books. Yeah, but I know I'm really happy because for a long time we were, as I said, we were sort of complaining that there's very high-end stuff in Prague or very low-end. There wasn't something in the middle, it was just like very fancy, big labels, name brands, or, the bottom of the barrel. And now, so, it's nice to have these kind of shops that are focused on nice things, even if it doesn't make a huge amount of money. But that's why they're located in Prague 7 and not Prague 1.
From Františka Křížka, it's a short walk to the Veletržní Palace, a huge functionalist structure that houses the Czech National Gallery's modern art collection. Sitting in the institution's airy Café Jedna, gallerist Camille Hunt and I discuss recent changes at the National Gallery and the Prague art world in general.
The entire National Gallery and Veletržní Palace have gone through a revival of sorts. There's a new director and a new head curator, and so we hold out much hope that the programming of the National Gallery will be better, and it already is better, and just open up to exhibitions abroad and bringing foreign artists here. For a long time it was a very controversial place, and a lot of artists kind of shunned it.
Is that because of the previous head, Milan Knížák?
That was part of it, yes, exactly.
What's the relationship between a gallery like yours and a big institution like the National Gallery?
Well, it's we should all work in concert, you know. So, and normally what happens is that institutions buy from galleries because galleries promote the artists and develop their careers, and the institutions are supportive of that. So it should be, you know, institutions, gallery artists, and collectors should all be very supportive of one another. That's how the system should work, but it doesn't always work like that.
So I guess you have great interest in the National Gallery becoming more progressive.
Yes, exactly. I mean, they have their budget is very low, so they have not bought anything from us. And you know, the way because the state institutions of the city have you know, their budgets are not very high. They do ask for artists to loan them pieces, give them pieces, you know. So that hopefully will change because artists can't just give and loan pieces. Otherwise, you know, they can't be artists. Mainly, we're just happy that the National Gallery and other state and city institutions have better programming so they can bring more interesting shows here, bring in curators who will then look at what Czech artists are doing, that these institutions will cooperate with institutions abroad also to bring their shows here and vice versa. For a long time they were working a little bit in isolation and that's not good, and so things are changing. I mean, slowly but surely.
How has Prague changed as a city in which to run a gallery and deal in art?
It's gotten better. I mean, the market here is very small, but it's developing, and at first we would only sell painting to local collectors, but that's also changing, so they're a little bit more adventurous and not so risk-averse. Apart
from your gallery, what other small galleries would you recommend to visitors?
That's easy because there are not that many. There's one around the corner from us, Lucia Durdová Gallery, and she opened there are quite a few in the last couple of years that have opened up. There's Philip Polanski, who is just up here. He used to be in Smíchov, and now he's on Veletržní. So that's another plus for the Prague 7 scene. Yeah, and some other neighborhood galleries in our neighborhood where the gallery is Mikuláš Nevan. And I mean, there are a lot of good small gallery spaces, artist-run spaces. The problem is there are not many commercial galleries who are really promoting the artists' work abroad. So hopefully that'll get better. That situation will also improve.
Is it a competitive world?
To an extent, but I think as I always say, there's like a lot of good artists in Prague, not many galleries, so there are many more artists we would like to work with, but we just don't have the capacity to do so. So in that way, it's not that competitive, like we're not always trying to poach each other's artists, which is more the case abroad where many more galleries, and so they often want the same artists. And so right now it's definitely more collegial than competitive.